Last time on the Silent Bond, reincarnated Sakura Haruno. A soul was reborn in the body of Sakura Haruno. With memories of a world beyond anime, she's begun to shape her fate quietly, careful not to change too much too soon. But time doesn't wait. The Academy is calling. Friendships will be tested, and a shadow is growing on the horizon. What happens when knowledge of the future isn't enough? Welcome to Riow Stories. Before we start, if you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Chapter 5, A Glimpse of Him, Sakura's Diary. Day 2025, Year 7. Evening was falling over Konoha like a dream. The air was cool and clean, tinged with the scent of rice cakes, roasted chestnuts, and new petals ready to fall. Around us, the village pulsed with excitement. Chakra buzzed through the streets, quick, happy, light. Lanterns were being strung like constellations along the rooftops, and festival stalls lined the main road, half constructed but already alive with voices and laughter. I walked between Naruto and Hinata as we followed the cobbled path toward Ichiraku. Naruto practically bounced beside me, his chakra flickering with golden warmth, joy, anticipation, mischief. Every step he took pulsed outward like sunshine. Beside me, Hinata's chakra was a soft whisper, delicate, sweet, but unstable, like a cup held too tightly. Every time Naruto looked at her, it rippled, warmth and panic flaring and retreating. She tried to hide it, but I could feel the spikes in her signature every time he smiled. The three of us must have looked ridiculous, one beacon, one flicker, and me caught in the middle, just watching it all unfold. Then it happened. A ripple brushed the edge of my senses, warm, focused, quiet. Not like Naruto, not like Hinata. It hummed through the air like a distant echo, structured, composed, and distinctly familiar. Sasuke. I didn't need to see him to know. His chakra was unmistakable, like the hum of a string pulled taut, vibrating with potential. But today, it was different. Lighter, brighter, joyful. I turned toward it, and there he was, running down the street, his voice high with laughter. He wasn't brooding. He wasn't alone. He was smiling, a real, radiant smile that reached all the way to his eyes. And for a heartbeat, I forgot how to breathe. "Big brother, hurry up," he called, sprinting towards someone ahead. Itachi. He waited at the next corner, tall and composed, but relaxed in a way I hadn't seen before. The moment was so casual, so human. Two brothers out for ramen on a festival night. Sasuke raced past us, not even seeing me, his joy so unguarded it left a wake in his chakra. I could feel it still, warmth brushing past me, like a breeze that knew my name. His laughter echoed. "Come on, Itachi. We're going to be late." I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. Not until Itachi's eyes found mine. He didn't smile. Just looked, steady and silent. A simple glance, no hostility, just acknowledgement. Then he turned, and they vanished down the road together into the lantern light. Naruto's voice brought me back. "Let's go before all the good seats are taken." He was already tugging at my sleeve, oblivious to what had just passed. "Right," I muttered, but my heart hadn't slowed. It was still racing, still caught on the image of Sasuke's smile, how open it was, how alive. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to still the flutter in my ribs. It wasn't just a smile. It wasn't just a boy passing by. It was a moment, one that lit something in me I didn't expect to feel. And now I don't know how to forget it. Sakura's diary. Naruto didn't notice anything. Of course he didn't. He was already halfway into the ramen stand, announcing himself like royalty returning from battle. "Ichiraku! We're here! Get the pots boiling!" Tochi-san greeted us with a laugh. Ayame waved from behind the counter, already preparing extra bowls. I slid onto the stool beside Naruto, Hinata sitting to my other side. The familiar smell of broth and spice filled the air, and for a moment, the world tried to return to normal. But my mind stayed elsewhere. Sasuke's chakra still lingered like a phantom touch across my senses. Not oppressive, not dangerous, just unforgettable. I kept glancing toward the street, even though I knew he was long gone. My heart hadn't stopped fluttering since he passed. I'd seen Sasuke before, of course, in class, at clan events, in passing, but never like that, never laughing, never running with wind in his hair and sunlight in his eyes. He hadn't seen me, but somehow it still felt like he had, like I'd been caught in a thread of his world for just a moment, and I wasn't sure I wanted to let go. "Extra pork, Sakura-chan?" Naruto asked between slurps. I blinked, realizing I hadn't touched my bowl. "Sure," I said, forcing a smile. He grinned and dropped a piece of meat into my bowl. You've been weird all evening. Not like bad weird, just weirder than usual. I'm fine. Hinata glanced at me, concerned but quiet. I stirred my ramen with my chopsticks, trying to center myself. It wasn't like I was in love with Sasuke. That wasn't it. This wasn't some schoolgirl crush, some sudden fixation. I didn't want to feel that way. It was something else. Something deeper. Something I didn't quite understand yet. Seeing him happy, really happy, did something to me. Not because I wanted to claim it, but because I knew that version of him wasn't going to last. And now, I wanted to protect it. Even if he never knew, even if I never said a word. After dinner, the three of us wandered through the market square. Naruto challenged Hinata to a goldfish scoop. She accepted. He fell in. Hinata panicked. Naruto laughed. I rolled my eyes. But part of me still wasn't present. Part of me was still trying to memorize the image of Sasuke's smile. It's strange. I didn't plan for this. I didn't expect him to matter this early, to shake me this much. He was supposed to be a footnote. Someone I would protect from a distance. Someone destined for tragedy I might try to steer away from when the time came. But now I've seen him. And it's different when you see someone. He's not just the boy from the story anymore. He's real, bright, human, and fragile in a way no one else can feel yet. That smile, I want to see it again. Not for me, but because if that light goes out, I'm not sure the world will survive it. Chapter 6, The Sakura Festival. Day 2045, Year 7. Konoha feels like another world tonight. The village streets have transformed. Lanterns sway in the warm breeze, casting soft pink light across cobbled stone and the happy faces passing beneath. Cherry blossoms fall like snow, carried in spiraling gusts that smell like cinnamon, sweet smoke and petals warmed by sun. Everyone is smiling, even me. Naruto and Hinata have been buzzing since sunrise. This is their first festival as a trio, our first. The Sakura Festival has always been important, but tonight it feels different. Bigger, brighter, more alive. And yet beneath the joy pulsing through the village, there's something else in the air. A tension, not danger, not fear, just significance. As if the wind itself is holding its breath. My chakra responds to it like tuning strings to an invisible note. Something is about to happen. Naruto darted through the street ahead, tugging both girls behind him by their wrists. Let's go, let's go, let's go, he shouted gleefully. The mask vendor's right around the corner. His chakra was radiant, golden, and chaotic, a pulse of pure excitement exploding with every skip and shout. Hinata followed with a shy laugh, barely keeping pace. Her chakra flickered in tandem with her heartbeat, nervous when he looked back, calmer when he didn't. Sakura walked behind them both, eyes half on the stalls and half on the crowd, senses wide open. The whole street glowed. Children running with sparklers, merchants shouting over steaming dumpling trays, festival banners flapping in the trees. It was everything she'd imagined a happy life in Konoha could look like. And then, like a ripple in still water, she felt it. That warmth. Structured, graceful chakra wrapped in light. Her breath hitched. Sasuke. Her gaze snapped toward the far edge of the street, drawn by the unmistakable hum. There he was. Sasuke walked beside Itachi through the crowd. They moved like they belonged to a different world. One untouched by noise, by tension, by history. Just two brothers, unburdened, whole. And Sasuke was laughing. His smile was wide and careless. The kind of smile that cracked through years of silence. The kind of smile that shattered everything she thought she knew about him. He said something to Itachi and burst out laughing, his voice light and bright, rising over the crowd. Sakura stood still, frozen. Her senses locked onto him like a tuning fork. It was too much, too vivid, too real. She didn't even realize she was holding her breath until his eyes flicked toward her. A glance, accidental, passing. But it struck like lightning. Her heart stumbled. There was no recognition, no curiosity, just a boy lost in joy, looking toward the crowd, unaware of the girl he just caught mid-breath. Then he turned away. The moment was over, but the feeling wasn't. Sakura, you okay? Naruto's voice pulled her back. He stood beside the mask vendor, holding up a bright red fox mask with crooked eyes and curled fangs. Yeah, she said quickly. Fine. She took the mask from his hands, her fingers trembling just enough for her to notice. Let's get these, Naruto said. I bet I can find the scariest one. He turned to Hinata, who was already blushing, holding up a white cat mask like it was sacred. Sakura smiled, but her mind wasn't on the stall. Not the crowd, not the noise. It was still on Sasuke, still on the way he'd looked, open, laughing, alive. Still on the way her heart had betrayed her the second their eyes met. Sakura's diary. I've seen him a dozen times before. At the academy, during sparring rotations, at clan-sponsored ceremonies. He was always serious, silent, composed. But tonight, he was light. I didn't expect it to matter. He's not supposed to matter, not yet. I told myself I'd stay away, that I'd do what I had to do from the edges of the story. But now I've seen him, and something inside me wants to protect what I saw, that joy, that freedom, that version of Sasuke that hasn't been broken yet. I don't know what it means, not fully, but I know this. If I ever lose sight of that smile, it'll mean the world already lost something precious. I should have been enjoying the night. Naruto was on a sugar high, racing from stall to stall, arms full of festival snacks and prizes. Hinata trailed after him with a soft, fond smile, quiet but never far. And me, I should have felt light too, but I didn't. The air was different now, thick, pulled tight with something just out of reach. Not danger, not yet. But the shape of the night had changed, and my chakra was already bracing. They reached the upper square just as the fireworks began. Crack, pop, shimmering gold burst over the rooftops, followed by green and purple trails that lit up the sky. Children cheered. Couples paused in the streets. Petals from the first sakura tree drifted through the air like confetti from another time. Naruto pointed up excitedly. "Whoa, look at that one!" Sakura's smile came automatically, but her senses stayed wide, and then she heard it. A muffled voice. Harsh, urgent, someone crying. Her eyes narrowed. She stepped away from the main square toward the source. Down a side alley between two stalls, and there she saw them. Two older boys. Masks half slipped, shadows hiding their features. A smaller boy cornered against a wall, his yukata stained with dirt, clutching a crumpled paper charm in his hands. The older one laughed. "You deaf or just stupid?" "Leave him alone," Sakura said. They turned. One sneered. "What's it to you?" Sakura took a step forward, calculating. They weren't much older, maybe 10, 11. Not trained, but cocky. She didn't have time for cocky. She reached into her sleeve and palmed a seal slip. Basic, non-lethal, but loud. "This is your only warning." The second boy scoffed and stepped forward. "Gonna cry for him, little girl?" She dropped the seal. Flash. They reeled back, shouting. By the time their eyes adjusted, she was already in front of the smaller boy, hand on his shoulder. "Go," she whispered. "Now." He didn't wait. He ran. But the other boys weren't finished. "You think you're tough?" A movement caught the corner of her eye. Another voice, low, cold, and completely calm, cut through the alley. "Back off." The temperature in the alley dropped by degrees. Sasuke stood there. He wasn't glaring, wasn't even angry, just watching them with eyes that promised consequences. The bullies hesitated, paused, and then, wisely, ran. Sakura stood still, her hand still raised. Sasuke approached slowly, not cautious, measured. His festival yukata hung loose at the collar, a pale blue wind chime now tied at his belt. "You didn't need help," he said. His tone wasn't judgmental, it was a statement. Sakura shrugged. "Maybe not, but I didn't mind getting it." Their eyes met, and for once, neither of them looked away. A firework went off overhead, lighting the alley in a brief flash of gold. His hair caught the glow. His eyes didn't blink. "Nice seal," he said after a beat. "You recognized it?" It was loud. Sakura smirked faintly. That was the point. He gave her a nod. Not approval, not dismissal, just acknowledgement. Then he turned to leave. I didn't expect that moment, didn't expect him to see me, but he did. Not the girl behind Naruto, not the Haruno prodigy, not a distraction, just me. For the first time, I felt like I was standing at the edge of his story, not looking in from afar, but brushing fingertips against the part where our threads might cross. It was brief. It was quiet, but it was enough. When she returned to the square, Naruto had already claimed the last 2 sticks of candied plum and was trying to convince Hinata to split hers. Sakura said nothing as she sat beside them, but her hand still tingled from where it had touched the seal, and her heartbeat still hadn't slowed. He doesn't know who I am. He doesn't know what I know. But for one moment under the petals and paper lanterns, we stood side by side, and I think that's the beginning of everything. Chapter 7. Under the Sakura Tree. Day 2045, Year 7 evening. The lanterns are brighter now. As the sun dipped beyond the rooftops, their glow stretched wider over the streets. Soft pink halos dancing across the cobblestones, brushing against food carts, rooftops, and masks that shimmered in the shifting light. The air is saturated with warmth, laughter, movement. Konoha breathes tonight. And still, my mind drifts like a leaf caught in the wind. Crowds had thickened as the festival reached its peak. Bodies pressed shoulder to shoulder, voices overlapping in a tide of celebration. But Naruto surged ahead as if he were clearing a path with sheer force of will, dragging Hinata and me behind him. "Hey, Sakura!" he shouted, eyes wide with joy. "We need to get some of that dango!" He pointed enthusiastically toward a stall draped in yellow paper lanterns. The smell of roasted sweetness wafted toward us, tugging his senses and stomach like a hook. Hinata followed at my side, smiling softly. She didn't speak much, but every time Naruto looked at her, her chakra flared, warm and fluttering, like a soft wind brushing the surface of a lake. They balanced each other without realizing it. Naruto, all fire, loud and burning bright. All water, gentle and steady beneath the surface. I watched them as I walked behind, letting the motion of the crowd carry me. My body moved forward, but my thoughts floated elsewhere. My senses were stretched thin, scanning chakra patterns as naturally as breathing. Most were steady, familiar. Parents, children, shinobi, merchants. Bursts of happiness, ripples of drunken warmth. A few flickers of anxiety in tightly knotted clusters. All harmless. But none of them were the one I was waiting to feel. Sasuke. His chakra had left a mark on me. Not physically, not even emotionally, at least not in a way I could name. But it had been distinct. A radiant warmth, clean and composed, humming with something unspoken, something I hadn't expected. And now I couldn't help but seek it again. "Sakura, come on." Naruto waved a stick of dango in front of my face. "You've got to try this! Best in all of Konoha!" I blinked out of my trance and took the skewer from his hand. "Thanks," I said, smiling, though my grip was lighter than it should have been. He and Hinata were already busy enjoying theirs, eyes lit with childlike glee. I turned away from them for just a moment, and then I felt it. That hum. That chakra. Sasuke. At the edge of the crowd, past the food stands and firelight, I saw him. He walked beside Itachi, laughing, and everything else around me dropped into silence. His face was alight with something free. He wasn't the quiet boy from the academy. He wasn't the Uchiha heir, walking in his brother's shadow. He was just Sasuke, and he looked happy. A pure, unguarded kind of happy. My heart gave a strange, fluttering twist. It was the second time I'd seen him that way, and somehow it affected me even more than before. Why does it feel like this? He hasn't said a single word to me. He barely knows I exist. And yet, something in me is drawn to him, not because of the tragedy I know is coming, not because of the boy he's supposed to become, but because of who he is right now. That light inside him, the one he hides during the day and lets slip only when no one is watching, I want to shield it, even if it's never for me, even if he never knows. The crowd began to thin as we left the festival square behind. Our path curved upward through a lantern-lit slope lined with old trees and drifting petals. Even the air felt different here, less crowded, less noisy, like the village itself had taken a breath and finally exhaled. We were headed toward the hilltop, toward the oldest tree in Konoha. The first Sakura tree. Naruto was practically vibrating with excitement again, pointing ahead. "There it is! That's it! They say the first Hokage planted it with his bare hands." I followed his gaze. The tree towered over the hilltop. Its ancient branches stretched wide like arms open and welcome. Petals fluttered through the air in slow spirals, catching the lantern light and turning soft gold. Beneath its roots, the earth was worn smooth by time, by prayers, laughter, promises. A gathering of villagers sat beneath its canopy, some couples whispering quietly, others resting against the trunk with their heads together. But even with all those people, the hill felt still, like time had stopped here. Naruto ran to the base of the tree and spread his arms wide. "This is it, the legendary wish tree." He turned with a grin. Okay, you gotta make a wish. That's how it works." He pressed his hands together in exaggerated prayer and squeezed his eyes shut tight, muttering something under his breath. Hinata giggled softly. She didn't try to stop him. She just stood nearby, gazing up at the blossoms overhead, her pale eyes shining. I stayed a few steps behind, breathing in the scent of sakura petals and soil. "This spot, it feels different," I murmured. Hinata turned to me, voice quiet. "My father says the first Hokage planted it for his wife, that it blooms all year, because their bond was eternal." I looked up. The blossoms above us stirred in the wind, shifting and shimmering, even without sunlight. It was easy to believe the tree had been touched by something deeper than roots and seasons. It was a tree that remembered. They say the sakura tree grants wishes. I don't know if I believe that. But standing here, surrounded by Naruto's laughter and Hinata's peace, I think I understand why people make them. It's not about magic. It's about hope, about saying something out loud and setting it free into the world, just in case it listens. Naruto finished his dramatic pose and turned with a proud smirk. "Done! Your turn, Sakura!" I stepped forward slowly, letting my fingers brush the bark. It was old, rough, alive. I thought of everyone I cared about. Naruto's reckless grin, Hinata's brave, quiet heart, Sasuke's hidden smile, my parents, my home, and the world I remembered from before, all the loss I hadn't been able to stop. I closed my eyes. I wish, I whispered, to protect the people I care about. No matter what. Not just from enemies, from fate itself. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. Not because of some grand vision or jolt of destiny. Just the stillness, the quiet beneath the blossoms, the hush between heartbeats. Naruto and Hinata stood beside me under the tree, wrapped in their own thoughts. The world felt slower up here, removed from the chaos of the village below. The crowd had faded into background noise, just laughter and music on the wind. I hadn't realized how much I needed that silence. The petals drifted softly around them, glowing faintly in the warm lantern light. Lanterns swayed on poles nearby, casting long shadows across the hilltop. The first sakura tree stood unmoving, as if listening. Naruto sat down beneath its trunk, stretching his arms behind his head. "Man, this place is amazing." He tilted his head toward Hinata. "You ever come up here before?" Hinata hesitated. "Once, with my uncle, but not like this." Sakura watched them from a few paces away, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Naruto was finally starting to see her. Not just as a classmate or quiet girl, but as someone who belonged at his side, even if he didn't fully understand it yet. And Hinata? She was growing, stronger every day, steadier. The idea made Sakura's chest tighten, not with jealousy, but something gentler, something like pride. She stepped away for a few breaths, just far enough to stand alone beneath one of the higher boughs of the tree. The wind caught her hair, rustling the leaves overhead. Sasuke's face surfaced again in her mind, his open smile, the lightness in his eyes, the way he'd look without knowing anyone was watching. She placed a hand against the bark, grounding herself. That version of him, the laughing, unburdened Sasuke, that's what she wanted to protect. Not the name, not the legend, just the boy. Sakura's diary. I don't think I'll ever be the same after tonight. Not because of anything dramatic, but because for the first time since waking in this world, I made a choice. Not a plan, not a prediction. A real, gut-deep choice. To protect them. Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke, my parents, this village, even if it costs me everything else. Because this life I found, it's fragile, and I refuse to watch it shatter like it did before. Later, as they made their way back down the hill, Naruto kept talking about the fireworks finale, gesturing wildly with his hands. Hinata nodded along, occasionally offering soft mms or short smiles, still glowing under the tree's lingering presence. Sakura followed behind them, letting the last of the petals fall into her hair, silent and unshaken. She didn't know what the next year would bring, but she knew who she was now, and she knew what she was willing to fight for. Chapter 8. A Masked Encounter. Day 2045, late evening. The warmth from the sakura tree still lingers in my chest, but the air has shifted. It's subtle, just a tension in my ribs, a pressure in the space behind my thoughts. My senses hum like a whisper before a storm. I've felt it before, this sensation of something inevitable pulling me forward, even when I don't know what I'm walking toward. Tonight isn't finished with me yet. Music echoed through the festival streets, upbeat and chaotic. Laughter rang from every corner. Lantern light shimmered against stall banners, and the scent of roasted chestnuts blended with sweet mochi and sakura petals on the wind. Sakura moved through the crowd, flanked by Naruto and Hinata, though her eyes weren't focused on the path ahead. Hinata wore a delicate flower crown now, freshly purchased from a vendor near the main square. The tiny pink petals woven through the circlet made her look radiant, and when Naruto told her it looked pretty cute, her chakra fluttered like a startled bird. Sakura smiled, watching the exchange without interrupting it. Their bond was growing, slowly but surely, and while she found comfort in that, her attention drifted again. There was something tugging at her, a tension at the edge of her senses, like the moment before a seal activates. Suddenly a ripple in the crowd, laughter, giggles, high-pitched excitement. Sakura turned instinctively, her chakra spiking with recognition. There he was. Sasuke stood in the center of a small, swirling storm of festival girls. Their voices overlapped in a cacophony of eager questions, flirty tones, and exaggerated giggles. One offered him a candied plum. Another held up a charm for eternal love. Sasuke's expression? Trapped. He was flushed and clearly overwhelmed. His eyes flicked around the group like a cornered animal searching for the nearest exit. Itachi was nowhere in sight, likely trusting his little brother to be safe for 5 minutes. Bad timing. Sakura's empathy flared instantly. It wasn't jealousy that tightened her chest. It was frustration. She could feel how unsettled Sasuke's chakra had become. Tight, restless, strained. She couldn't just stand there. Sakura's diary. He looked like he couldn't breathe, like he was trying to be polite, but every fiber of him wanted out. I've seen that kind of tension before, in shinobi backed into corners, except this time it wasn't kunai that surrounded him. It was expectation, and he hated it. She moved quickly, eyes scanned the stalls. A rack of masks caught her attention, plain festival masks painted with soft cherry blossom designs. Perfect. She grabbed one and slipped it over her face. The porcelain was cool, the edges brushing her cheeks like a second skin. Then she reached into her pouch. The modified smoke bomb she'd prepared for emergencies, pink haze, faint sakura scent. Non-lethal, beautiful, effective. Her fingers tightened around it. She threw. Pop! A burst of pastel smoke swallowed the crowd of girls. Screams of surprise echoed through the air, followed by coughing and confused shouting. The scent of blossoms filled the alley like perfume. Sakura stepped into the cloud. "Sasuke!" she whispered, grabbing his wrist. He didn't resist. His hand twitched, startled, but he followed. She pulled him through the crowd, weaving effortlessly through the chaos. No one followed. No one saw them slip away into the shadows of the festival. They emerged into quiet. A secluded path behind the last row of vendor tents led to a small hill near the outer edge of the festival grounds. Above them, the branches of the first sakura tree reached across the sky like arms made of light and memory. The scent of blossoms lingered. So did the pink smoke, faint now like a dream. Sakura let go of his wrist and took a slow breath. He turned to face her, eyes wide, breath uneven. The two of them stood beneath the tree, the sounds of the festival now muffled by distance. Who are you?" Sasuke asked. His voice wasn't angry, just confused, cautious, not afraid, just curious. Sakura's diary. I'd never heard his voice directed at me before, and I wasn't ready for what it did to me. He wasn't suspicious, he wasn't cold, he was curious. And for a second, I didn't want to break the spell. I didn't want to be me. I just wanted to be the girl who helped him breathe again. He stood there like he was waiting for something, an answer, a name, a reason, but I couldn't bring myself to take off the mask, because once I did, this would become real. Sasuke's question lingered in the air, barely louder than the rustle of petals. Who are you? His voice was soft, uncertain, and yet it struck deeper than a kunai ever could. Sakura hesitated, fingers twitching at the edge of her mask. She could feel his chakra more clearly now without the crowd. Steady, strong, a slow-burning flame pulsing beside her own. She didn't want to lie, but she wasn't ready to tell the truth either. I'm just someone who didn't want to see you trapped, she said, voice low but even. You looked like you could use an escape. Sasuke's eyes searched hers, or what he could see of them behind the narrow slits of the mask. His guard began to lower, his shoulders eased, his chakra softened, and then he smiled. It wasn't wide, it wasn't showy, but it was real. Thanks, he said. I didn't know how to get away from them. Sakura exhaled a quiet laugh hidden by porcelain. Well, now you owe me, she said lightly. Next time, maybe you can return the favor. Sasuke arched an eyebrow, amused. Next time? You planning to rescue me again? She shrugged. You never know. You seem like you get into trouble a lot. That earned her a small huff of laughter. For a moment, they just stood there. No urgency, no pressure, only the breeze stirring between them and the faint flicker of festival music in the distance. Above them, the first sakura tree whispered with every gust, its blossoms falling like soft confetti across their shoulders. I don't know why I couldn't speak plainly, why I needed the mask between us, but it let me be something else for a little while, something that didn't carry expectation or history. He didn't know me, and somehow that made it easier to breathe. Sasuke looked up at the tree, expression thoughtful. This place, it's peaceful, he murmured. Sakura followed his gaze. The petals glowed faintly in the moonlight, suspended like stars caught mid-fall. Yeah, she said. They say if you make a wish here, it'll come true. He glanced sideways at her. Do you believe that? She hesitated, one hand lifting unconsciously to the edge of her mask again. I don't know. Maybe, she said. Do you? Sasuke turned back toward the tree, gaze distant. I guess there's only one way to find out. Another silence fell between them, but it wasn't awkward, it was gentle, like the space between words in a poem. Sakura found herself smiling behind the mask. She didn't understand this feeling, not fully, but it warmed her from the inside, soft and slow. It wasn't about destiny. It wasn't about rewriting a tragedy. It was just him, and this quiet, stolen moment between them. Then, Sasuke, Sasuke, where are you? Itachi's voice, distant but growing closer. Sasuke stiffened. The moment fractured. He turned toward the sound but paused. I should go, he said, glancing back at her. She nodded. Yeah, you should. He stepped away, then looked over his shoulder one last time. Thanks again for saving me. Her voice was soft beneath the mask. Anytime. And then he was gone. Sakura stood alone beneath the tree. The pink mask still clung to her face, porcelain cool against her skin. She reached up, pulled it away, and exhaled slowly. The air felt clearer now, the wind gentler. The weight in her chest still lingered, but not in a painful way. She looked down at the mask in her hands, tracing the painted blossom with her thumb. Something had shifted tonight, and it wasn't going to shift back. Sakura's diary. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning. He won't remember the girl in the mask, but I'll remember his smile. And someday, when everything begins to fall apart, I'll hold on to this night. Because this is the version of him I'll fight for. Not the Avenger, not the prodigy, just the boy beneath the tree who wanted to be seen. That's the end of it for now. I can't wait to show you what's next. Hope you enjoyed. Riow out.